tavakatamritam tapta jivanam kavibiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhavignantiye Burita Jana. Thy words of immortality, praised by the sages, full of divinity, they are auspicious to hear. They destroy sins and the threefold miseries of life. Those, O Lord, who receive and spread thy words are the benefactors in this world. The Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we are on page 108. Sri Ramakrishna is continuing teaching the devotee, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He continues, Brahman and Shakti are identical, like fire and its power to burn. When we talk of fire, we automatically mean also its power to burn. Again, the fire's power to burn implies the fire itself. If you accept the one, you must accept the other. It's one entity appearing, said to be two. Two? No, actually it's not two. It's a one that appears as the many. Because when you say Shakti, the power, everything that has power is movement, motion, activity. And that generates multiplicity. One thing leads to the other, and we see it in our lives. We start something, and that leads to something else, and that second leads to something else, third, and on and on. And if it's something good, we benefit, and if we make a kind of a mistake or wrong choice, we are caught in it. What I'm trying to imply is that everything is movement. This entire universe is nothing but vibrations. It is ceaseless. Nothing in this universe is static. So this is the dynamic and the static nature of the reality. It's an obverse and reverse. So that's the reason why he says they're two identical. Brahman and Shakti are identical. And as usually gives up the illustration of fire and its power to burn. Then he continues. Brahman alone is addressed as the mother. Now this Brahman, this unitary existence is called mother. But we also know that Shakti is also called the mother. So he's saying this entity that we see, this reality, is called the mother. Why is it necessary to personalize it? Then he says, this is because a mother is an object of great love. One is able to realize God just through love. He changes the topic again. He's saying, first thing is, he's saying, it's a mother. Personalize it as a mother. Not just an earthly mother. This is a representation, a dim representation of that which is called a mother. That's why Shakti is called the mother of the universe. So here we are saying this is because the mother is an object of great love. And to a child, of course, even after we grow up and then we realize, oh yeah, that is the place I really got some unselfish love. Then he says, one is able to realize God just through love. Ecstasy of feeling, devotion, love and faith. These are the means. So he says, the original is bhakti, bhava, bhalobasha, tar vishwas. So here we are being told this is the means. As I mentioned before, since he was a great Pandit, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Sri Ramakrishna started with speaking about the knowledge aspect of the reality. Then he came down to the bhakti, the love aspect. He's continuing that. He'll terminate in the karma aspect. So when he says one is able to realize God just through love, ordinary love? No. But we can get a glimpse of the real love for God through this love that we experience. For one thing, bhakti is when we love an object, it's love. And when that love is directed towards God, it becomes love for God. It's bhakti. What happens in ordinary love? You get transformed. This is the first sign of love. Yes, you may be whatever, but this love is now transforming you. It's transforming your perception of the world, as well as it's leading you to your beloved, or in bhakti we'll say, leading you to other devotees. And this is what happens. So love is a transforming factor. This is the first sign. And when you love God, your personality undergoes a change. It's not a radical change, but you can feel it. If there is no, you can say, transformation of your own identity, then it's not love. So when Sri Ramakrishna says one is able to realize it just through love, love also encapsulates the idea of sacrifice. One must be able to sacrifice. One must be able to undergo innumerable hardships. One must be able to endure the other non-lovers also. Otherwise, you'll say, oh, these guys are miserable, horrible. No. There's a great kind of compassion that arises within you. And say, so then what happens is, as I said, your perception of the world changes. So sacrifice and endurance and all these kind of things that they come. Or you'll say renunciation. The idea of renunciation becomes natural. People say, well, you see, it's very difficult for me to meditate. Yeah, meditation is very difficult. So repeat the name of God. Oh, that also is very difficult. Our mind runs about all over the place. Oh, of course. You can sit down quietly. Oh, Swami. After a couple of minutes, then it becomes unsettling to just be sitting down doing nothing. I say, meditation or repeating the name of God, etc., becomes easy when you love God. Then the mind flows towards it. Now, love God in the sense, now, what's this love? Yeah, you've got to, at that stage of meditation, one must be able to personalize this love in the form of a deity, a chosen deity, or any god or goddess that one likes. It's appealing. And if you can keep on loving that, that is meditation. According to Bhakti Yoga, constant remembrance of the thing, of the deity, is meditation. We are not talking about a yogic meditation. This constant thing, and then he'll speak about it. So he says, ecstasy of feeling, devotion, love, and faith. So bhava and bhakti and bhalavasha. As we've seen, when bhakti, when love for God matures, it becomes bhava. At this stage, well, even at the earlier stage of bhakti, your mind dwells at this level. And you can feel it in the sense of, yeah, your mind dwells here. The things of the world that were tugging you or tug you or kind of which are stressful, they have become kind of very distant. They have become secondary. When you feel that upsurge of love, you feel it in your heart. And if you can hold it there, that's the idea. Have that feeling of love held in the level of the heart continuously. That is called bhava. That is the maturity of bhakti. We feel love a little for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and then it dissipates. And then again, then there's a kind of another episode of an upsurge of, oh, I feel so much love. And then again it dissipates. And when it dissipates, we feel kind of bereft of energy. There's a lot of love, and then after again, you feel a depletion of energy. So there's a rise of kind of energy, and then it leaves you a little dry. But in the state, when the bhakti matures into bhava, you can keep on holding it. There is no dryness. There is only sweetness, a constant sweetness. Yeah. So this is what happens. Then he sings, as is a man's meditation, so is his feeling of love. As is a man's feeling of love, so is his gain. And faith is the root of all. If in the nectar lake of Mother Kali's feet, my mind remains immersed, what little use of worship, oblations, or sacrifice? Yes, this is what actually happens. When love takes over, you don't need formal worships. They drop away. They're saying, why should you leave formal worship? The formal worship will leave you. All the things that were aids, it's like a kind of a protective barrier that you needed when the sapling was growing. You don't need it now because the sapling is grown into a tree. So he's saying, if in the nectar lake of Mother Kali's feet my mind remains immersed, The other aspect of love is the subject and the object has a feeling of identity. As you have seen, your identity changes as you keep on loving. And the object of love now becomes everything, and there is a kind of a fusion. In that state of fusion, you don't need to have there was an incident in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. So there was a character called Hazra. He was a spoiler, as they say. Rather a jester there. And so he said, why are you busy talking with all the boys and all? You sit down and repeat the name of God, do japa, like I'm doing. And he used to sit down with a thick seat near Sri Ramakrishna's room and keep on using the rosary over, and he was to be sitting for long hours. So he's saying, you should do something like this. What's this? Who will respect you if you go around laughing and joking and cracking cracking jokes with the boys? So Sri Ramakrishna takes his rosary mala in his left hand and he turns it a couple of times, not a couple of beads rather, and he gets in such a deep samadhi. It was difficult for others to bring him down from that. So for him, formal worship was over. One needed. Also, there are incidents where, you go to the Ganges and then you cup Ganges water and you offer to the deities, to your ancestors, whatever, to departed. So there are prayers. So he lives and he simply couldn't cup the water, the Ganges water. His fingers were they never closed and all the water was running out. So he tried it many times and saying, I don't know what happened. So he comes and asks a manager, Bhola. He was the temple manager, the staff in the temple. So, he's saying, that the scriptures say that there's something called a Galita Hasta. That is, you will not be able to hold on to anything anymore. That is, rituals has fallen away from you. You don't have to. So this took place in it. And it's also true that you find it in life also, as you keep on living, all those things that you had when you were young or you were growing up, they become kind of distant. You might remember them, but you've outgrown many things. So it's like when bhakti and bhav take over, you outgrow many things like rituals, etc. So that's why he's saying, what little use of worship, oblations, or sacrifice. The first line is, as is the man's meditation, so is the feeling of love. So, as I said in the bhakti scriptures, a constant remembrance of the deity constitutes meditation. So the original is bhavile bhav uday hoy. So it rises as you keep on thinking about it. So when we are in love, we constantly think of that person. It loops round and round and round. You can't shake it off quickly. So it's there. So your body is undergoing change. You're constantly thinking. So this is what is called, when you keep a deity instead of any other object of love, this is what is called meditation, according to the scriptures on devotion. So that is feeling of love. As is the man's feeling of love, so is his gain. Jemon bhav temni labh. So as the progression of this feeling of love increases, that person gains. What does that person gain? Not the ordinary treasures, but the spiritual treasures. We don't realize that we are, in a way, spiritual beings. But we've put on the clothes of the mind and the body and etc., and we are going around. After the Vespers, in the Gospel reading, Swami Vivekananda says, one of the first songs that he sang for Sri Ramakrishna was, "Oh my mind, why do you wander about in a foreign land, in a strange garb? Why don't you come back, return? Why don't you return to your home?" This returning to one's home, one's own abode, is one's spiritual nature. So that is the gain. And then he's saying, and faith is the root of all. The original is pratyaya. It is actually more a conviction. A tremendous conviction comes. See, what happens is love generates this kind of, bhakti generates a conviction. People come and say, is there a God? They're perfectly convinced that there is no God. He wants kind of some confirmation. He wants to validate. And there are some who, there is no. And then you put a doubt, and then the conviction are kind of dismissed. In all our dealings, we are, of course, we are convinced that these things exist. But if a contrary argument is brought in to show that these things do not exist the way they are, it's just an appearance, your conviction will kind of get rattled. And even if you say, yeah, I'm convinced there is a God. How? I've read it in the books. The books say it. Oh, that is no conviction at all. That's a bookish conviction. And that has been the problem with religion. People have been shouting and screaming that my God is better. Why? Because my book says my God is better and the greatest. So they are convinced because some book has said this, scripture, yes. And there are hundreds and thousands of scriptures. The conviction that God alone is real and the universe is unreal, that will come only through this kind of love. Yes. And you must understand, when I said love also implies sacrifice, compassion, all these things, it also implies knowledge. We cannot separate the two. One, when you love, you know. And the more you know, the more you love. And the more you love, the more you know. This is Sri Ramakrishna's words. So this is there's a conviction that comes in. There's a faith that comes in. There's a kind of unshakable, you can say, evidence within you, subjectively. Yes. And as bhakti matures, as you can hold your mind at the level of your heart, oh yeah, you get convinced. Things start happening to you. Because first, you're not your old self. Your self has become transformed through that love. And that love gives you, saying, you were looking, give an example, you're looking at the world through a kind of a peephole. And then suddenly, the door has sprung open. There's no need to peep through a hole. And what happens? You get a wider view of things. There's more light coming in. And that is the convenience. So you will get dreams, you will get visions, you will get all such things convincing you this is true. And that's why, and faith is the root of all. So then he explains these lines. What is needed is absorption in God, loving Him intensely here. And absorption, as I said, the subject and the object merge. That is absorption. For the time being, there is no difference between two lovers. So loving Him, the nectar lake is a lake of immortality. Love gives you that. A man sinking in it does not die, but becomes immortal. Some people believe that by thinking of God too much, the mind becomes deranged. But that is not true. God is a lake of nectar, the ocean of immortality. He, that God, is called immortal in the Vedas. Sinking in it, one does not die, but verily transcends death. And we see later also that there was a Shivnath Shastri, one of the leaders of the Brahmo Samaj. He's saying the Paramahamsa, that Ramakrishna, is a nice person, but he is a little deranged because he's thinking too much of God. So that comment reached Sri Ramakrishna, and the next time they met, saying, Shivnath, I heard that you say that I'm becoming a little deranged because I think too much of the God. Oh, I think of consciousness and I become deranged. I become unconscious. And you are thinking of this unconsciousness all, and you are all right. Because when you start, these are unconscious things. So you're thinking about this world and you're all right. So that's why he said, he's thinking of conscious. So one of the definitions, one of the appellations of consciousness is love, priya. So it's asti bhati priya. That's in Vedanta. That which is exist, that which shines, that which is love. That's the bliss aspect of reality, the ananda aspect. So you get into, you're thinking about consciousness, you'll get more consciousness, fills you. That's why it's called immortal. Unconsciousness can only be mortal. It will disintegrate, break down. It is consciousness that is immortal. Of little use are worship, oblation, or sacrifice. If a man comes to love God, he need not trouble himself about these activities. One needs a fan only as long as there is no breeze. The fan may be laid aside if the southern breeze blows. What then is need of a fan? Not an electric fan. In those days, we had these hand fans. And so you're sweating and you start fanning yourself. That, of course, generates more heat, of course. But it has a kind of illusion of, at least the face gets kind of cool. But when the breeze blows, you don't need to fan yourself. So they say, and that's why to Vidyasagar now. Now he completely changes track. Because, like I said, you're speaking of bhakti. How to approach the reality through bhakti. And before that, he spoke how to approach reality through knowledge, jnana. Now he's showing Vidyasagar how to approach that reality through karma. Now, see, Vidyasagar was not only a great scholar, a pandit. But he was a pioneer in this social movement in those days in Bengal. And also he was a great philanthropist. He had a large heart. He used to help people of all types, of all kinds, everywhere, wherever you could. So he himself was engaged in constant activity. So here Sri Ramakrishna is saying, the activities that you are engaged in are good. It is very good if you can perform them in a selfless spirit, renouncing egotism. That is, giving up the idea that you are doer. Through such action, karma, one develops love and devotion to God and ultimately realizes Him. So here he say, the means to love and knowledge is but karma. But what karma? Giving up the sense of, I am the doer, which is extremely important and with extremely difficult. Because the sense of I am the agent, the doer, is always there. Otherwise, there won't be any action. As simple as that. The subject, the object, and that which connects the two is work. If you remove the subject, everything collapses. There won't be any karma. There will be no connection. There will be no object. Then what? Sri Ramakrishna speaks about, there are two types of egos. One is the raw I, and the other is the ripe I. The raw I is aggrandizement. I pull everything to myself and heap it round my own self. I do it for me. Everything in this world is for me. I am the center of this world. Can't you see it? So even if I love, I'm doing it for me. Everything I have to acquire because I feel so impoverished. I feel I should accumulate things, collect things for the rainy day. And that is the raw I. And Sri Ramakrishna gives a nice illustration, saying two people have been given mango. One person who gets a mango, he quietly eats it and wipes out all traces with his towel. Another person gets a mango. The first thing he does is he shares it with others. And he'll eat the remainder if there is. That is the illustration for a raw I and a ripe I. So when the ego has become ripe, you have to have an ego to work. But then with the ripe I, and also you can also connect as I'm a child of God. God is the doer. I'm just a child. I'm just an instrument. I'm just a carrier. So there is no sense of egotism, no pride, and no kind of feeling that I am the doer. This is extremely important because people talk about karma yoga, karma yoga, karma yoga. This is karma yoga has to be performed with this feeling of the ripe I. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, go out and fight. These armies have already been wiped out by me. You just be an instrument. That is what the whole thing is. Later on, like I'm writing with a pen. With a pen thinks, I'm writing. Yeah, good. Yeah. The one who holds the pen. So this is how one works. So the activities are good, but one must be able to give up the sense of I am the doer. God is the doer. Or the higher reality is so vast. I am really insignificant. And another way of looking at it also is, as the Bhagavad Gita also is, guna guneshu vartante. That is, the nature and its qualities act upon each other. You're saying, who's responsible for this earthquake? Well, that's nature. Who's responsible for this storm? Nature. Of course, now we are kind of interfering with this, putting more and more carbon inside of. And these volcanoes, and there's a god underneath, and then he spews up, kind of, when he's angry, he kind of spews up lava to punish you. That was the old mythology, Now we know what science is, and then it's nature that's working. So who's making the earth revolve and rotate round the sun? Oh my God, look at that speed. It's maddening. If you keep on thinking of it, you'll go crazy. What are we doing here? Look at this huge nature that's all around us, with its hundreds and billions, and they say that billions of galaxies. What's this? And you think you are the doer, great one. I'm the doer. Look at this. A small speck of dust in this vast ocean of emptiness, space, empty space. You cannot call space empty because it's space. Because wherever there's space, there is also time. The sages knew that, desh kal nimitta. So time is there and space is there. And wherever time and space is there, there will be the laws of causation. There will be matter. So, look at this. Who's expanding the universe? God is stretching it out. God has got better things to do than keep on stretching it out like the piece of rubber. That's nature working. So my body, most of my body is working subconsciously. As if, I'm breathing. I have to be aware I'm breathing, and my heart is pumping and my blood is circulating. That nature is taken care of. She has taken care of everything. She has kept your mind, conscious mind, free. Now think of higher things. And this person is thinking, I am the doer. Nature says, I am the doer. So then he proceeds. The more you come to love God, the less you will be inclined to perform action. When you see that great, that's what Brahman is called. The most extensive, the most pervasive reality called Brahman. When you see that, oh my God, what am I here? In this 8 billion people? Forget people. There are so many other beings and so many species and so many things. It's a crowded place. Yeah. And look at me. When a daughter-in-law is with child, the mother-in-law gives her less work to do. As time goes by, she is given less and less work. When the time of delivery nears, she is not allowed to do any work at all, lest it should hurt the child or cause difficulty at the time of birth. This illustrates this, how he explains. As you get closer and closer towards God, your activities go down. It becomes less and less. You are less inclined to be. So there is that Rajoguna, that constant activity, constant, you can say, restlessness. That is tempered down. That becomes quiet. Then it becomes sattvic. There is more joy. Then there is more fullness. There's less activity there. So then it becomes sattvic, and then this is the example, illustration that Sri Ramakrishna has given. We stop here for today. For questions before we can go in, as I said, this Saturday we have Karma Yoga. Friday, of course, we have Ramchandra Datta, the householder disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. We also have Saturday at the retreat at Arlington, Karma Yoga, starting at 10. And we also, Sunday, we have What is a Guru? The Sunday talk at 10 a.m. And as I mentioned, that we have commenced Mother's Children. Children from 5 to 18, 15, 16, accompanied by their mothers, can join us. So, is sparsha real when electrons are the outer cloud? Spashaha. I can't understand the question. So if you could rewrite or restate the question. When the electrons are the outer cloud. Yeah, there's a kind of a cloud. It's the electrons are a probability. It could be anywhere. It's called a kind of a cloud, electron cloud. But what is this spashaha? So you can restate it. Do we have any questions here? Oh. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. So the Sanskrit word for ego is ahamkara, right?
Yeah.
Is there a difference between that and, like, let's say the cosmic aham? Is ahamkara a wrong sense of aham, or is it aham itself wrong?
You see, there are 4 functions of the inner instrument. The mind, intelligence, memory, and the sense of I. It's called aham. And because it's functioning, it's called ahamkara. So this is part of the mind, the inner instrument, which right now, where do we see these 4 things? This mind has become one with the body. For obvious reasons. Because where is the mind? Your mind has become the body. It's only through yoga can you separate the body and the senses, with senses, and the mind. You can pull it back. So this aham, now it is, so where is this I? This I is also found in birds, in animals. It's not only we are some special creation and we are so, you can say, lucky, and God has made us, I don't know what, made us superior. So this sense of I is everywhere. You'll find it in insects, because you're trying to kill it and it's going to avoid that. It means that there's a sense of I there which is trying to avoid. It's always. And not only that, if you go even lower, try to kill a bacteria, you see, you'll try to run away. There's a sense of I. So in the Sankhya philosophy, the first evolute of the cosmos is the universal mind. It's called a Mahat. From that Mahat, from that universal mind, arises the universal I. That is why you find the I universally. It cannot be that wherever there's life, there cannot be an I. Wherever there's life, you will find an I. Whether it's in the blue whale, whether it's in the bacteria, or cell. Moreover, saying that's a paradox. Now we say, yeah, this is I. Really? Now, if I take a cell from my skin and kind of put it out there in a petri dish and I kind of nurture it, there's a separate sense of I there. You notice it? So where is this I? And now we know that there's trillions of, you can say, microbiome there. They're also saying I. Where is this I? So that's why they say that the beginning of this creation was this I. And from this I, everything has come out. The body, the gross body, the senses, the objects, everything has come from this I. It's called asmita. Asmi is I am. Asmi is like, or just being, pure being. I, instead of I am, just am. That pervades everything in creation. So, it is not only a generalized sense of I. What happens is all the cells in my body and with a separate sense of I and everything, they, as they say, there is a kind of they work in concert to bring out this universal sense of I in my body. That is maybe because you can say, there is one theory that says, yeah, all these neurons are firing in a kind of in a sequence, or in a rhythm, or you can see each cell, the outer, and every cell has the positive and a negative. Every cell, it's an electricity, and they pulsate in a particular rhythm, and that gives us the sense of I, a universal sense of I in my body. The same way that the universal sense of I everywhere. So this is the root of this I. And egotism, hey, you don't know who am I? It's called, you will call it, in Sanskrit it's called abhimana. That's kind of, he's proud, he's kind of, it's egotistical and this and that. So, the metaphysical, you can say, view from the Indian philosophy goes much, much deeper than the ordinary sense of I. The ordinary sense of I depends on your memory, your education, your culture, even the wealth that you have. Everything is dependent on hundreds of things. And that's what they say, that's a false sense of I. If you can get to the real sense of I, oh, there's an I in me which is everywhere. Then you become universal. Okay? Okay, this, well, there is no restatement of, maybe it's sparsha. Sparsha. Sparsha is touch. It's a kind of a typo. But yeah, if you could. Anyway. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.